Weekly Life Challenge. Stronger, happier, better, together. Hi, welcome to the end of week 5, the beginning of week 6 at Weekly Life Challenge. This week, if you remember, I was doing stretching, and it was a 2-week challenge because I decided last week that I hadn't quite figured out the stretching thing. So I extended it for a second week, and this week I did it. I feel like I learned a valuable lesson in flexibility. And it's not the flexibility that I was thinking about. So I actually don't think I notice any difference in my body in terms of limberness or flexibility or posture. And it's because I've only been doing this for a week. But in that week, I learned a lot about myself and about how I work and how I can best incorporate new things into my personality and my preferences. So instead of like the first week of stretching, when I tried to cram a 40-minute or find time for a 40-minute intense stretching activity, I intended to do it at the beginning of the day. That didn't work. So this week instead, I just did it whenever I could and in whatever way I could. I was much more lenient, much more exploratory and experimental. So one day, a couple days actually, I loaded up a video in the middle of the afternoon and my 2-year-old and I stretched together. My favorite part of that was when I was trying to do a bridge. It wasn't a full-on bridge. It was like the modified version of a bridge. And she crawled right underneath me. And Cassie Ho said it was time. I could release that it was time, but I couldn't because there was a little girl underneath my back. So I did it for a little bit longer that time. Another time, I stretched in the park. The kids were playing. They were supervised. Don't worry, they were supervised. And so I took that opportunity to do some stretching. Another time, the whole family got together and we took turns picking what was going to be next in terms of what parts of our body to stretch. And we did that for about 10 or 15 minutes together. And another day, actually I stretched in my hotel room while I was waiting for my husband to finish getting ready before we went out somewhere. So that's really interesting. Last week, one of the reasons I thought for not being successful at stretching was because we had gone away on a day trip one day, and so I didn't have time to stretch. But this week I went away for an overnight trip, and I did find time to stretch. And it just shows how. And that shows the difference in my attitude and my approach to the 2 weeks. So while we were away overnight, I found time to do my stretches because it wasn't something that I had kind of regimented or made into a big thing. I just, when opportunity presented itself, I stretched, and it was really beautiful. So because of that, because of the inconsistency, I was able to do it. But also I'm not seeing any of the benefits of the physical activity, also because it's only been a week, but also because it's not the same thing every day. But that actually really is good for me. I like the variety. I like how I can just be spontaneous about it and, I've got a few minutes, I'm going to stretch. So that is really going to inform the way I go ahead with my challenges now that I know that about myself. I want to quote someone, Meredith, in the comments. She said, I really like this, gotta embrace, I'm going to read it. Got to embrace who you are while introducing new rhythms into your life. And that's exactly it. So I'm trying to introduce new rhythms. I'm trying to do new things and to make small changes, but small changes, right? I am me, and at this season of my life and at this stage and circumstance in my life, it doesn't work for me to set aside a big portion of time to do something very specific. I can think of times in my life, like when I was working full-time, when it was good to set aside a specific hour every few days to join a class, to do something on campus. But now when I'm mostly at home and doing things nearby, it's easier to just squeeze it in. So that's what I'm doing, embracing who I am while introducing new rhythms into my life. Thank you to everybody who shared their thoughts and recommendations. I enjoyed the videos that I saw, and the best part was that as I did some of the videos, then I just kind of remembered that I know how to stretch. And so when I wasn't able to turn on the TV or to listen to something formally, I could just stretch, and it was also very good. So I am very pleased with this week. I feel like much has been learned and gained from stretching, although it wasn't what I expected. So that's fantastic. Moving on to week 6, I'm going to do something very different. When I started Weekly Life Challenge, the idea was just to become better, just to improve, become more whole, become more healthy in the broadest sense of that. And so this is not an exercise challenge, weekly exercise challenge. These are not weekly mindfulness challenges. These are just weekly life challenges. And so I've done a couple physical ones, and I've done a couple kind of mental, gratitude-y, spiritual ones, and I've done a home challenge. And so it's time to do something relational. And so this week I am challenging myself to compliment. Complimenting is not something that's easy for me. This is actually going to be quite a stretch. I didn't mean to. So this is not something that's easy for me. When my husband and I were first married, he used to tease me about how every time I tried to compliment, it would come out as a reverse compliment. So something I intended to say something good, but it came out in such a way that actually it was a bit of a put down. It was negative anyway. So neither of us can think of any examples, which probably is a very good thing, because who wants to remember that? But it was along the lines of, wow, you're not as bad at that as I thought you were going to be. Right? Bad. But my intention was good. And I don't know why this has always been so hard for me. I don't know if I feel uncomfortable complimenting, if I don't have enough practice, I don't know. I also don't take a compliment very well, but I'm working on that. I have been working on that. I think it's really nice when someone receives a compliment with grace. And so that's something that I am aware of and I am already working on. But this week I want to give compliments. These compliments need to be meaningful, and I want them to be relevant and genuine. Yeah, relevant and genuine. So that means I'm going to have to be watching for things that I appreciate or admire in somebody, and then commenting on those in the moment. Sometimes I do really notice things about someone, and I don't know why I don't say anything. Like, it's not hard to say, wow, your haircut looks great. But instead I'm thinking in my head, wow, your haircut looks great, and that person never knows. And also more meaningful things, when I've said to people, I really appreciate this about so-and-so, or this person did the greatest thing, and this is what I liked about it. And it doesn't help that person for me to tell this person, right? So I'm going to try to do my complimenting this week. I have a story. So a few months ago, it was wintertime, it's been a while, we went out for dinner with some friends to Swiss Chalet. And as about 2/3 of the way through the meal, the couple that was sitting beside us, they were an older couple, stood up to leave, and the woman came and she interrupted our dinner and said, I just want to say, when you guys came in here, I rolled my eyes and I thought, oh boy, here we go. We're sitting beside a family with young kids. But it was a real pleasure. Your children are well behaved and very sweet, and we enjoyed having dinner beside you. So thank you for that. And she left. And she actually was complimenting my kids, not me. But I still remember that. And then months later, when we went back into Swiss Chalet, first thing and sat down, first thing I thought about was that lady and the way she had paid us that very kind compliment. And it still makes me feel proud of my kids and grateful for that moment and many wonderful things. So if I can perfect or at least improve upon my ability to compliment, maybe I can pass on a little bit of joy like that to somebody. And if not, at least it will be good for me to start noticing more and just saying the things. Hey, you're really good at this. Hey, I really like your whatever. So not a difficult concept, but for me this is something that feels uncomfortable and will be a real challenge. So that's the plan for this week. Relevant, genuine compliments. I'm going to aim for at least one a day. And I will let you know how it goes. So see you next week.